Showtime. Dynamite download.
Dynamite download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
Oh, you guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
who let this guy in here?
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
I'm saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down, like, wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May, she said, who?
Because I'm so driven, and I'm so moved to like what I want to do.
The versus Brian Keith match. It's awesome.
That's so cool. You got like these creepy ass dudes.
Oldest ride, longest line.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah.
Back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Welcome.
What is up? Dynamite Download episode 151. Cheers to that. It is strong tonight. There's a something proof song that I know about, but it is, that's straight up 151 right there in honor of episode 151 on that.
You know it.
What is up, mind? The fallout from WrestleDream. I mean, we've had a full episode of Dynamite to kind of digest, as well as the rest of the weekend and all that. And a lot's happened, man. A lot is going on, and I am just like hook, line, and sinker right now of what's going on with the Moxley story, what's going on with the Elite. Man, there's so many different things. Like, I don't know, like the depth of stories is just at another level. And, I got a sneak peek of it, and your boy is back. Your boy is back in the rankings. Quite the jump. So before we talk about where we're sitting at our season 4 draft rankings, we could touch a little bit about WrestleDream. How did you overall, like, what would you give that a grade?
I give it an A-, and that's just because to get an A or an A+, you really got to blow me away.
Right.
I do feel like it was tremendous. The matches that we knew were going to be tremendous were tremendous. I think some of the biggest moments were some of the fallout from some of these matches and some of the decisions that were made. Clearly some shifting in stories, right. Things that kind of went a different direction. And of course, Dynamite continued those. We're definitely we're heading to full gear and beyond. We're definitely going forward. And what I found was interesting is how, like, now a lot of those superstars that were either gone for a hiatus, maybe they were filming a movie with Adam Sandler, or maybe they were injured for a significant amount of time. A lot of these folks are coming back, and they're not all coming back at once, but they're coming in at good times. And I think that this is it's a great time to be a wrestling fan, great time to be an AEW wrestling fan. I think there's a lot of stuff cooking, and I'm here for it. I thought both WrestleDream, some could argue Wrestle Nightmare. Now, granted,
as I was saying, right? Yep.
We weren't as somber in the Burden household over Bryan Danielson's murder. In fact, Full Tilt Deb was kind of cackling about it. She's definitely on Team Moxley. But that's Full Tilt Deb. That's not me. But it was definitely moving forward. We saw the retirement of Bryan Danielson from full time. I'm sure we'll see. There's going to be more for that. But a lot of interesting stuff. Some surprises, some disappointments. I was looking forward to Private Party dethroning the Bucks, but if that match did anything, it elevated them to where they need to be. And I think what's going on now with the current storyline is going to continue that. And we'll see the titles around Private Party at some point.
Overall, I agree, man. I think it was an A show. It really delivered way more than I expected it to deliver. From start to finish, man, this was a jam-packed show, and it was placed so well, from everything from that awesome opening match with Jay White and Hanger, a great women's match. The trios match really elevated stuff.
Yeah.
You had the breaks when you needed the breaks with the swerve segment. You had that quick pivot to the double debut or re-debut, or essentially almost kind of triple, even though Garcia, we did see him, Garcia,
Yeah.
then MJF, then Adam Cole, baby. And so, I mean, I'm Team Mox for sure because I'm loving what he's doing, but I honestly I still am shocked the way we saw it. But like, you know, after reading a lot of stuff on X and the social channels of like, not all stories have to have a happy endings and stuff like that. It's like, I'm a sucker for happy endings. I don't like to watch movies unless it has a happy ending. And so like, I don't want to feel the sadness. And it was, you could see it on Darby's face, you know, Excalibur sounded like he was crying, and like, they're really leaning into all this with Danielson, kind of, you know, end of an era of quite the career. And so it's just like, I think it's the right decision to really go all in on this Mox BCC mayhem. Doing so, I just felt like it was too soon, and I wanted it to be that way. However, it's just like, man, the way that ended this, it's one of those like, you're just like, you need to like decompress from watching that show.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can even hear it in the commentators. They were very somber and quiet. I mean, they were selling it like it was a murder, like he is gone. And there were some complaints, and I watched the media scrum afterwards, and I don't know if it was planned or if it just the way it was, but the media scrum was very weak. Tony wasn't there. Of course, the kayfabe was he was at the hospital bedside with Bryan Danielson as they read his last rites. But the reality, he was flying to Jacksonville flying to the UK, I think, for the Jaguars were playing in UK or something. I don't know. There was he was on his way to watch the Jaguars. But the scrum was short. They were somber. Like even Nigel was kind of not full Nigel, and I don't know if they were pretending to try to be all sad. Mariah May called all the journalists out. She only got one question, and she's like, what the hell's going on? Now, granted, if Dynamite Download was there, maybe we need to get some press passes because, we definitely would be talking.
Excuse me.
Exactly. But
bullshit.
Yeah, I will say this: as somber and whatever they're doing, I think the Moxley thing is going to really work, and I think we'll talk about it. I think when we go through Dynamite recap, but I think it's working. Because what it's designing to do is it's now saying, hey, it's time for you to start taking these wrestlers seriously. And it's like, you wrestlers, it's time for you to take yourself seriously. None of this, no more of what you used to be. And I think we're going to see these elevated versions of Private Party, Daniel Garcia, Darby Allin. We're going to start to see these elevated men and women rather than boys and girls. And I think that's what's going on. Yep.
Well, before we dive into last night's show, let's talk about where we're sitting. So a big thing, since we last spoke, we had Rampage, WrestleDream, Dynamite, 3 shows. And let's see.
And SPD, you were at the bottom going.
I was at the bottom.
You were at the very bottom. Let's see where you are now.
Moving on up.
Don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years. And again, what a testament to anything can happen in any given week.
Man, that was quite the jump. And that's, for those of you in the chat there and knowing like in our little side group on X and all that, that bingo card, SPD won it by the time limit tiebreaker. I picked the 28 minutes and it was like a 26 something minute match. And so that was at +3. And if the Moxley crew didn't have that interference, didn't run that interference, I would be another +2 with the Young Bucks, and you would have been a -2 there. So they would. I mean, it just those damn DQs. I don't know what's going to happen, but man, it's still neck and neck. I know you're kind of running away, and who would have thought your most valuable players would have been someone from Private Party? You know, like,
right? But actually, you know who my real most valuable player is.
Yeah, of course.
I've got the tribal fruit back. Now I want to actually defend Steven. He's saying he's dead last, but if you notice, Courtney, Cray, and Steven are all tied for last place, but there's only 1 point behind Bobby, only 2 behind Brian, only 3 behind Brent, only 4 behind Full Tilt Deb. I mean, there's only a 10-point difference between last place and first place.
Right.
Anything can happen. I mean, we still have Full Gear. We still have these other. I'm sure they're going to have Winter is coming before.
Well, we got Battle of the Belts this Saturday too.
That's right, Battle of the Belts. We
got next Saturday.
All kinds of things going through. So
anything
can
happen. You got someone with the belt. You got 3 guys with the belts. I'm sure you'll get a tag team match with Dustin Rhodes there. You got, of course, Jack Perry. Garcia is going to get a ton of wins coming up. So like you said, anything can happen, especially with our bonus pay-per-views. We're getting extra shows such as, like we just said, the Battle of the Belts. So a lot of airtime is going to happen from now to World's End. So we're still early on, 2.5 months to go in this right there. Yes, I know that they are taping a Collision right now. So in order to keep my excitement level,
it's on Saturday. It's not being taped right now where you can read the spoilers online later. No, it's
exactly. I honestly, so moving into last night, one thing I really want to talk about, I think this is a good way to start, just because I was kind of anticipating a little bit more stuff happening, but I think it's really cool. Let me get the graphic up. I don't think you have it there, but was the Don Callis press conference.
Oh,
and so, we're going to start with the scumbag Callis. And I think this was a great press conference. And if you show these 2 murder beasts, or what are they calling them?
The Murder Machine.
The Murder Machine tag team right here is going to be an absolute wrecking crew if they do form as a tag team and start to wrestle together. Oh my gosh, this is great. And might I add, 2 favorites of Dynamite Download. Both have been featured on our channel with our interviews. So 2 great guys as well to talk to. Love both of them. And I think this new character look for Lance Archer is going to be fantastic. I think the new clan that he's part of, the new group, the Don Callis family that he's part of, is going to be fantastic new shift to his character and to his in-ring stuff. I was shocked that I know there was some hiring of Brian Cage and all that, but I didn't know if he was officially part of the Callis family. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if there was an official invite somewhere or missed all that, but I'm here for it. I'm here for that.
This has got 10,000 stickers of awesome for me, because this is not only is it like, both. First of all, Brian Cage deserved the title. He's got the gold. And Lance Archer with Callis now is going to get so much more deserved TV time. Putting them together, they need to just run roughshod through the entire tag division, beating everybody down. I dare say, I hate to say it, but if you really want to get some heat going with these guys, there's my favorite tag team right now. They probably should destroy them. They should probably destroy the Outrunners to get some real huge heat.
Well, Outrunners are going to be going against LFI coming up, and that's going to be an interesting pairing. And as much as momentum the Outrunners have, not to jump ahead, I feel like LFI is the team that needs the momentum right now.
Yeah.
That's an interesting booking, because I feel like the Outrunners are going to lose to LFI, and that's going to lead the LFI to FTR. And so that kind of feud. Maybe LFI recruits another member and they do an 8-man tag, kind of trading wins and losses and stuff like that. But regardless of that, I feel like the team to beat would be eventually the Murder Machine. I mean, if you invest in them, and maybe they go for the babyface right now, which is Dustin and Sammy.
Yeah.
Battle of the Belts, they challenge them for that the title, Ring of Honor tag team titles, and maybe they get them and start there, and then they move over to the AEW tag team titles because you're not going to put the Young Bucks against these guys at the moment.
No.
Right now, I feel like the heels in AEW, and now Kyle Fletcher, standing tall with the Callis family. When these four guys stood with Callis, they're just four behemoths in AEW, and it's like this group, man, is just like going to be unstoppable. And I feel like the heels in AEW are so strong at the moment. I'm questioning, which I'll bring up later, of like, where do you go with the elite? So think about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we're talking about the Moxley segment. But this heel group, the Callis family, Powerhouse Hobbs is cleared to wrestle. Where do you see him fitting in, either with this family, against this family, moving on, feuding with them? Do you think he's the odd man out? Where do you stand with that?
Well, here's the thing: is what really, and shout out to our man Brent in the chat here. Strange booking. I am a bit surprised that they turned Kyle Fletcher heel. Because I felt like they were heading towards. I felt like they were heading towards bringing
Agreed,
Aussie Open and bringing Mark Davis back. I don't know if he's cleared or not. Plus you the whole factor of Will Hobbs. But if you already look at that, you've got Takeshita, Brian Cage, Murderhawk Lance, and Kyle Fletcher in the Callis family. That's four. Powerhouse Hobbs almost becomes a fifth wheel. Do you bring it? That becomes a crowded stable.
Agreed.
If you bring back Powerhouse Hobbs. Personally, I feel one of two places for Powerhouse Hobbs to fit in. I think he's done with the Callis family. I would love for him to join up with this Moxley crew because, Moxley speaks very highly. Moxley real back when they were at the Pandemic in the Daily's place, Hobbs was picked by, Moxley to join him. Of course, he ended up turning on him, went in with Team Taz. So I think of one of two things. I think he's either going to join up with Moxley and his crew, or we're going to find out on Wednesday that he was the one that attacked Taz.
Yeah, I think that's one way to go, and I would support that. I would think that I agree. I feel like too crowded for him to be back in the Callis family, but Hobbs works so good as a heel too. But the way that Moxley's crew is going, which we can segue into that right now as well. The way that Moxley's crew is going, I feel like that he's more trying to elevate those who need elevating. And Hobbs is one of those that doesn't necessarily need elevating, but the way that Moxley sees these young wrestlers in the biz, including a Hobbs or a Garcia or a Darby, like that would be similar to that kind of category. So joining with Moxley's crew, I don't feel like, as much as I want to see Hobbs run havoc through 100 guys, the whole roster, I'd rather him get iron sharpened iron versus Moxley, or trying to be on Team AEW versus Moxley, because that's someone that should be and could be and will be pushed to the top with Powerhouse Hobbs. And I feel like it'd be a great opportunity. And like you said, it's full circle. Moxley seeing that potential in Hobbs. And correct me if I'm wrong, it was the match versus Moxley that he got injured too. So it's almost kind of, he has some vengeance against him, or maybe kind of like the Jay White kind of motivation is like to get back in the ring and kind of beat him who put him on the shelf.
Yeah. I think it's I'm starting to believe in what Moxley's doing. At first, I thought it was kind of scattered and not sure if they even knew what they were going to do. And of course, I always like messing with Brent, saying that it's all funded by Shane McMahon. But no, I actually don't think that now. I actually think this is Moxley's doing. It's a higher purpose kind of thing. It's more that he's doing this to kind of light a fire under the roster. And yeah, you're right. Like there's some talent that don't need his guys, but I almost feel like Hobbs would fit in as an enforcer, as a disciple, if you will, of Moxley's new little cult here. But I think, like, if you look at who he's focusing on, he's focusing on, they got Garcia, the Private Party, the Darbys, the folks that people have argued whether or not they deserve the top spot. Are they mid-carders? And he's and you look at Wheeler Yuta, he's like the ultimate quote unquote mid-carder type that people would say, and he's turned him into this vicious killer. I mean, they corrupted him. So I think this is all about elevating everybody, but I think the guy that's going to save AEW from Moxley is a returning, either one of two people. There's two people that are going to be the ones to stand up and turn things around. It could be Adam Copeland.
Yes. Okay. I support that.
With FTR. Or Kenny, by God, Omega.
There's so many ways you can go about that. Like, we talked about it in our sidebar chat. I feel like Copeland and FTR. So right now, to me, they're going through the low-hanging fruit, the Moxley crew. They're size-wise, look who they're going against.
Yep.
You just physically look who you're going against. Like, nothing against them, but Darby, Orange Cassidy, Garcia, Private Party, Top Flight, Dark Order, they're all smaller, relatively speaking, compared to a Hobbs, compared to, like, let's say an FTR or whatever it may be as well. And they are, like you mentioned, are they top tier enough to compete at that top main card level? And so it's interesting that who's feuding with them right now. After last night's episode, I really foresee, Garcia, I could definitely see him dethroning Jack Perry, but it's just like, I'm still not buying Private Party as tag team champs. Nothing against them. I've always been a fan of them, and I think they're really great in the ring, but I just can't, I'm not buying it right now. I'm not bought into it.
And that's the point. And I think that's why they didn't get the W at WrestleDream.
Right.
And that's why you're seeing them now. I think that they need some more time in this storyline. I see Isaiah Cassidy there further than Mark Quinn. And I think a lot of that has to do with Mark was out for so long. But Isaiah got to, under the Matt Hardy learning tree, if you will, Isaiah got to really define who he was as Brother Zay for a long time. And he really got to kind of flesh out his character both in the ring and as a persona. And if you notice, Zay kind of takes if you look at old promos from Private Party in the first couple of years of Dynamite, first couple of years of AEW, Zay is like this little kid, and he's like, doing all this stuff. But now he's taking kind of like the lead. He's kind of the Dax Harwood of this. And now Mark Quinn will speak up as well, and he'll continue. But I think we're going to need to see several months of Private Party breaking away from that older image, so that, like you said, so someone like a fan like yourself, like most of us, can actually see them as tangible tag team champions. And then that's going to be a glorious moment when they finally, like, okay, they are ready, and they finally do. I agree, they're not ready. One other thing I wanted to say here, just to jump in while I can, I thought it was great storytelling, the way the EVPs pansied out when Moxley was taking over, and the way that they were called out on this. I love that storytelling. And of the four of them, the Jacksons and Okada were real like, oh crap, we were afraid. The only one that wasn't so much afraid was Jack Perry. And I think I think they've really done a great job understanding that, Jack Perry's a scumbag, but of the four of them, he would be the only one that I think I could see, mixing it up, but he was being smart, not stupid, and pulling them back. By the way, the happy birthday, Kenny. Damn. that was pretty ruthless.
I think that what I like about that is that they're acknowledging him. That means they're planting more seeds. It means he's getting closer and closer and closer that they're planting these seeds.
Yeah.
And I do like I'll take this off the screen because it's pretty gross, all the guts and livers and intestines and all that. But I think they're just going to continue to throw these jabs at him and he's going to come back. But, talking about the Golden Lovers beating the Bucks possibly, but I still feel like the money match would be Omega versus Okada because of their history.
Yeah.
He can go against any of them. He can do the tag route, Okada route, or even the Jack Perry route because of what the Jack Perry's calling him out and all this stuff. So I do feel like that level of the elite, like you got to wait till Omega, like that's going to be the one that kind of takes down the elite. Now, my question earlier was like, where do you see the elite fitting in with this BCC havoc? We saw them concerned, shocked on the stage. It's like, this is someone, I can't take credit for this because I was reading, it was like, what BCC is doing, it was almost, I feel like, plan A for what the elite was going to do, but they never executed it.
I love it because they kind of address that, but it's like, I think the EVPs are showing what lame ducks they are. Yeah. Like they could talk a lot of trash when they could push around everybody, but now Moxley presents an interesting threat because Moxley's not afraid of them. And they're kind of like they're almost taking the stance of, do you know who my dad is, or do you know who I am? I'm an EVP, and then Moxley's like, whatever, smack, So their inaction is revealing the heel side of them, which I really love, and I think that I see them kind of being cowards and like trying to ignore what Moxley's doing, and I think ultimately they're not going to be able to ignore it. Ultimately eventually Moxley's going to run out of other victims, and they're going to be knocking on their door. But I think like what's going on right now is the EVPs are just going to kind of let it happen and kind of try to like you might see like the Bucks acting all pompous and then see Moxley and them down the hall, like Claudio and Pac down the hall, and then turn around, walk the other way. Those kind of things. Or I know we'll get to it in a little bit, but there is a part from that. Oh, and I mean, just not to jump the gun, but the beatdown at the end, the ending of the show when they were getting ready to leave. We saw a much more. Yeah, look, poor Alex Reynolds, who he has lovely hair, because at first I thought it was Chris Statlander, but when he ran down, but Alex Reynolds has got the best hair in the Dark Order. But that whole beatdown, we started to see Dark Order was really starting to lose its way. It was floundering, and I had that plan for Dark Order. I had that overbooking plan where reunite with a few people. But what we got to see, Evil Uno not afraid of Moxley. Evil Uno wasn't afraid. He's locked him up before. He's gone the distance, and
he's had feuds with Mox for sure.
Yeah, I remember. We all remember him bleeding through his mask. So I think this is definitely lighting a fire under the Dark Order to the point where the Johnny Hungy's running, chasing after that truck, was killing.
He's like Roadrunner in his little feet.
I think he's still running down the highway right now, chasing after him. I could just see him hanging on the back one, like that. But there's so much of that. But I that's where I think this whole thing is going. Is it's lighting a fire. It's making you believe in these quote unquote victims. You're rooting for them. You're believing in them, and it's making them tougher. It's actually getting them to the point where they need to be, and they haven't been able to get to yet.
This is, I say it week in and week out. Like the mock stuff is some of the most exciting stuff that I'm here for every single week. There's so much more that is on AEW television, but this is like, I'm so like tuned in I love the way that they're booking him, like opening the show with that cold promo, just pure fire. And then wrecking havoc midway through the show, wrecking havoc near the end of the show, like continuing this, you're keeping it relevant nonstop. And I really don't know where they're going to go with the Elite stuff. Or Elite going to join them and kind of be the Iron Claw, the Iron Fist, the Oz behind the curtain with all this, or are they going to get pushed aside and Moxley's going to destroy the Elite next? They can go multiple ways like that. I feel like you could do that where like all of a sudden the Elite are kind of like hands off, and then they join him, and ultimately they're the ones behind it. They're like, I mean, they've already turned on TK once. They've already, done all that, and he's in the neck brace at the draft. So you could either do that, or Moxley sees the Elite as a threat and wants to dismantle them because they're part of the EVPs. They're part of the corporate attack or the corporate group. And then, like you said, circle back, because full circle, Moxley was like, I like you, kid, and to Jack Perry. And so does Jack Perry turn on the Elite? Does he not need the Elite anymore? Joins Mox. And then you have the Young Bucks and Okada kind of left as stray dogs and just taken out by the Elite and turned on baby face. So there's so many ways, which is what's the best part about what they're doing is you have no clear path of what's going to happen. No clear path. Sometimes we can book, as we book our bingo cards, we book our fantasy booking. It's relatively obvious for us diehard fans of what you can. And we do get swerved here and there a lot of times. We're not always right, but we can fantasy book. But this one, I'm just so all over the map. And just when I think I have like a direction where I think they're going, next week on Dynamite, we'll see something. I'm like, it's totally different.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't really get what Moxley was doing until Dynamite, until this past Dynamite. I didn't quite feel it, even at WrestleDream. Yeah. At Dynamite, it all clicked. I get it. I see it because in the reactions that they're generating, not just with the wrestlers, but with the fans too. We're and there's, like you said, there's so many directions, and we got so many people coming in. Hobbs is coming in. We'll talk about it later. We're going to add to the Hurt business very soon, but there's so many things to happen now. I think we're about to talk about perhaps something that I think we all agree is a bit strange. But do you mind if I lead into it?
Is this it?
This is exactly it. When we last left, the last time we saw Adam Cole, other than prior to WrestleDream, he was the heel. He was the devil. He turned on MJF, and MJF was our son.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, it's
yeah. But
it's all about the budge.
All about the budge. Suck me, beautiful. No. Anyways, I felt like this. Don't get me wrong. I like Adam Cole, baby. I'm a fan. I like him, and I'm excited. This felt a little bit too long, and it felt a bit like filler, and it felt like I'm going to keep talking until I'm the baby face and MJF is the heel. It really felt like, you know what it felt like? It felt like when you watch a series on TV, and then there's a writer's strike, and then so there's a long delay between seasons, and then they have to fast forward. And yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I'm wearing this is I'm kind of on MJF's side with this.
Wow.
Because he was betrayed by the one person he opened up to. So it's kind of like, shame on you, Adam. Now, I don't know if that's I almost feel like Adam should have first come out and kind of took more ownership of the whole devil thing. Maybe they're just trying to run away from that because it did kind of fall apart. But I don't know. And the fear, I saw it earlier in the chat, people the fear is MJF is Wardlow gonna come back in and get back into
I don't see that.
I hope not. I want Wardlow to start something new and fresh, but I don't know. I like Adam Cole, and I'm sure that, and this the thing with AEW, always just wait. It'll work out. It'll make sense. Just when I'm like scratching my head on stuff, things click and it makes sense, and I'm cool with it. But I thought this was a little too long, and I think it would have been better if Adam kind of owned, like, listen, I turned on him before he turned on me because, I know a snake or whatever. I don't know. I just didn't care for it. And I don't know. I don't know where they're going, but I'm in for the ride.
See, I agree with you. I love, like, us outsiders looking in. It's like, when is it going to click? Then when it clicks, we're all like, yep, there it is. Yep. That makes all the sense. As I mentioned earlier, TK is the Oz behind the curtain, and we're just running, or we're skipping along the Yellow Book Road, and then all of a sudden when we reach the end, we're like, okay, you're right. This makes perfect sense. But with the Adam Cole stuff, like, I think he works so much better as a babyface. I mean, he can go. Okay, let me word this. He can go both ways, if you know what I mean. But he is so much fun. He's your upgrade to Orange Cassidy on your mainstay babyface. Best theme song in the biz right now. Everyone loves to do the chant. Everyone loves that. This guy is an A+ talker on the mic. That being said, he just doesn't have AEW or World Championship material, or just the way he looks like. But it's unfortunate you have to say that stuff. But I love the fact that how smooth he is on the mic, and I think the promo battles between these two guys. Oh yeah. Have been fantastic. They've proven those guys going toe to toe have been fantastic. They are some of the best in AEW, and so the build to this match will be great. However, like I did feel like this segment did go a little bit long, and you could hear when he's walking up the stage, you hear, Adam, turn around, and then he turns around, he's waiting. So I think the segment went a little long. However,
somebody was shouting Adam, was like in the audience was going Adam, and then
it seemed like someone, like a producer or a camera person did.
Yeah.
If you rewatch it, the way he kind of like abruptly turned around and then went back to the center of this thing, that doesn't matter. We're just nitpicking, doing weird stuff about that. However, I am happy Adam is back in the picture, because I think he's a great addition to AEW. He's a fantastic talker. I think he, as a babyface, where babyfaces are really essential and really needed, it's crucial right now. And what do you got to get off your tongue? I know you're just drooling over there.
Well, I'm turning it. This is my Paulie Dangerously. This is my Paul Heyman poster. I think, and they missed an opportunity to do it last night, but that doesn't mean they can't do it next Wednesday or another promo. And Steven made me think of this in the chat. I think what should have happened, MJF is sitting in his lounge with the wine, and he's sitting by a campfire. And then right towards the end, a female, we don't see her face, but a slim female walks up behind him, puts her hand on his shoulder, and her hand is got a glove. With a tooth on it, embroidered on it. Now, it turns out after some revealing down the road that that's Alicia Toot, his actual girlfriend. But imagine the reaction if Adam's in the ring, MJF's on the screen, he goes, and MJF says, well, you don't have to take my word for it. You could get a doctor's note instead, or something like, let's make sure we ask a certain doctor. And then you just see a female hand just put her hand on his shoulder. You don't see the face, you just see the glove and like the DMD outfit.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
Can you imagine the crowd reaction? Oh,
that would draw some mad heat for sure. Especially with all the stuff that we've seen with the drama between DMD and MJF, true or not, with the dirt sheets of what's happened backstage. However, I think like that would really elevate this feud, and kind of, who knows? I mean, like we know on social media, there's so many rumors out there. What's true, what's not true. However, like Britt's still going to be a babyface for now, and she's posting about Adam Cole on her story, and so like, however, that would be fantastic. Like to kind of hint that way.
I think Britt's the DMD's the best when she's a heel, in my opinion.
Agree.
I think
I agree.
She
I mean,
is,
we could go. So I feel like that would be a fun segment next week of like wrestlers. Maybe you and I can come up with a list of 10 to 20 who have turned heel and babyface and had runs.
Yeah.
And we can say it kind of like survey, and we can do it in the chat too. Like, who do you prefer them heel? Do you prefer them babyface? Do you prefer them heel? Even though I am team babyface all the way across the board, there are still, I can appreciate heels versus babyface. And I agree. Britt Baker, MJF, heels. And there's the reason why they're so good at that. Now, babyface is like, I feel like, someone who's been a heel, someone who's gone both ways, like a Statlander, like a Jericho, like a Kenny Omega, like a Kyle Fletcher, like,
Young Bucks.
Young Bucks. Yeah. So we can have ones that have established both heel and baby faces, and we can do a little segment next week of who do you prefer them and why. And so that we can do that. So that's a kind of a cool thing we'll do next week. There you go. Moxley, heel or baby face. And it's so fresh. Sorry, I keep hitting that. It's so fresh with Moxley's heelness. And I feel like his tweenerness early on was so fun. But this leaning into this level of heel has been so ruthless and brutal and fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like in the case with like a Moxley, there are some that are fluid. They're arguably not gender fluid, but they're persona fluid in that they can be a heel 1 minute and a baby face almost at the same time. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin. The only time I didn't care for him was when he was trying too hard to be a heel way back then, when he turned on when he would join WCW or whatever. But I feel like when he was just Stone Cold Steve Austin, he could be a heel and a babyface depending on who he's wrestling. And I think that's like Moxley, but then again, like Jericho.
Yes.
But Jericho's a great example of somebody that is clearly a heel or clearly a baby face at that time.
It's really hard not to want to cheer for Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yeah.
Because of his story in the past. However, he's been such a good heel too, with that snarl, with that offense, with that brutal spine buster, with his just ass whooping matches. And so I would like for him to, I almost want him to be a babyface because of the depth of the heel division right now. I want to see him climb to the top as a babyface. He's someone who could challenge Takeshita. He's someone who could challenge anyone. I mean, you look at the landscape of the champions right now, every single one is a heel. And so someone great like Hobbs, which I think the sky's the limit with him as a babyface. I mean, he's working so good both ways, but as a resident babyface, I would love to see him as a babyface because everyone loves a good return. Look at at the Adam Cole pop, that was a pop regardless, even though he was coming out, while MJF was putting a beat down on. So what about you, Mind? Where would you want to see him?
Yeah, and I think it, no matter what, when we hear that, there's going to be a pop. I don't care if you try to make him a heel. I think that a mistake would be to try to put him with Hurt Business. I think that he'll get lost in the shuffle there. Besides, just because he's a black badass wrestler doesn't mean automatically put him with Hurt Business. I like what they're doing with Swerve. I even think that we might see some interesting stuff with the Acclaimed. I definitely think Leo Rush might be involved. But I think with Will Hobbs needs to be, regardless of what I think he kind of could fit in that Moxley where he's a badass. And I could see him again, putting him with Moxley where he's destroying, he'll beat down on Takeshita 1 minute. And then the next minute he's beating up Orange Cassidy. If he turns out to be the one that beat up Taz, I think he needs to break Hook in half and send him to community college. And then just continue to, I think, that way, Hook is injured, so he has to take community college instead of wrestling, and have Powerhouse Hobbs just run roughshod and climb his way up And yeah, I would love to see eventually Jack Perry scared. The one man that scares Jack Perry is Powerhouse Hobbs. I would love to see that feud.
Another thing we should discuss next week is potential. I've seen a lot of people throw out some like fantasy bookings. We should, after we see how this week and Dynamite lays out next week, let's fantasy book or predict Full Gear. You know, there's a lot of things out there that I'm seeing Full Gear. A couple things are going back and forth, and you know, maybe a couple rinse and repeat matches or whatever it may be. But that's something we should do next week: is the heels versus babyface, predict Full Gear. A little couple segments there, and all you in the chat, come ready for that. Give us your Full Gear predictions after we see how Collision, Rampage, Battle of the Belts, and Dynamite all play out. So a lot of TV time coming in that way sense. But I'm really, I don't know if, I feel like Full Gear obviously is one of the marquee pay-per-views, so big stuff's going to happen. But World's End has just like such a ring to it where you want like a lot of things to change over. And so whatever it may be on that. But nothing that's going to change over anytime soon, in my opinion, is the TBS champion or the New Japan Strong Women's champion with the CEO herself. However, this match was top notch. Queen Aminata is, as we have spoken highly of, really showing us a different side of the women's division. A lot of excellent in-ring stuff that she's been doing. I felt like the pairing between these two, quite frankly, was fantastic. I felt like the chemistry was there. I don't know how long Queen has been a wrestler in general, but she really surprised me last night. A lot of her holds, a lot of her mat wrestling, a lot of things that we're really doing. Really great stuff. And I felt like this overall match was one of Mercedes' better ones with the title defense. And I think that is a lot had to do with the Queen and what she can do, both on offense, defense, selling, and as well as just keeping the match flowing. And I got to give really props to her because I'm happy that she's been getting more spotlight over the last few months and well deserves. And I know you speak very highly of her. And I felt like this was, even though a loss in the loss column for Queen, but a win overall.
This match, unlike some title defense matches where it's pretty obvious that it's like a champion practice match. This to me felt like a contender match where Aminata has established herself, much like Swerve or Cassidy, some of these guys that were underestimated or maybe you didn't see at first as that top person. Queen Aminata has established herself like Willow in that she is one to consider in the conversations as about like Jamie Hayter, Mercedes Moné, Thunder Rosa. You know, she is definitely one that's established herself as no longer a jobber, no longer mid-card, whatever. And this match was tremendous. I agree with you that this match was enhanced because of Queen Aminata's skill to a point. And I think, yes, Queen Aminata is fantastic. I love her. I think she's one of my top 5 now. And she was, of course, in the PWI 250. Ironically, she and her sister from another Mr. Sky Blue were both like 68 and 69, I think, which was very interesting that they were both together. If you know, you know. But I also want to give flowers to Mercedes Moné in this match because she gets a lot of flack and a lot of heat, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, she's paid too much to not be as good a wrestler." Blah blah. I hear a lot of crazy stuff that's really just unfair and stupid, but I felt like Mercedes really demonstrated what she could do. The way that she can kind of slink around, like she does kind of this like almost like a snake. She was moving around Aminata and getting into these submission holds. And I mean, Mercedes will never be believable as a powerhouse, unlike Queen Aminata. Queen Aminata's up there with like Statlander, Camille Brickhouse, which Aminata versus Brickhouse. Let's run that 50 times a week. But Mercedes Moné is more of a Britt Baker or a Serena Deeb, where, or like a Julia Hart. And I think Mercedes was really in her zone with this one. She was selling, getting thrown around by Queen Aminata, getting bashed around, but she was also able to do some reversals that utilized her physique and utilized that kind of sinewy, kind of snake-like character. Like, she was able, there was one where I think she like weaved around her and then got her in like a submission. And I think 54 and 55. Thank you, Bobby. I knew they were next to each other, but I couldn't remember. Somehow 69 just stuck in my head for no reason.
Pervert.
But, I really got to hand it to Mercedes Moné in this match. But again, with Aminata, when you have a good dance partner like Aminata, you're gonna put on an awesome match. I thought it was fantastic. Both ladies shined. It elevated Queen Aminata.
100%.
And of course, Brickhouse is the perfect bodyguard, henchman, muscle for Mercedes. And I'm really happy for Queen Aminata. And I feel like Mercedes really deserves some credit for that match too.
Yeah, it was very well wrestled overall, and I felt like it almost didn't get the spotlight that it should have. And it's almost maybe it was a sleeper match on the card because so much happened storyline, and I feel like I almost expected Statlander to come out and then set up a tag match with Queen and Stat versus Camille and Mercedes. Maybe we still will get that, but I almost expected that. But when the match ended and that was it, I was just like kind of shocked that more wasn't furthered with the story.
Yeah.
But that's okay because like I said earlier, like the person we're talking about the most here is the Queen versus instead of the CEO. And that doesn't happen that often when you have someone who loses come out the winner. And this is definitely one of those cases. And I threw this up while you're on that great point, but the PWI women's, this is clear winner for sure. The stuff that she did with her character work and her title run, correct me if I'm wrong, probably or the second longest run next to Shida, or definitely one of the longest AEW runs.
Most memorable. I would say most memorable.
Most memorable run by far.
Yeah.
And I think she did some fantastic stuff. Everything from the character change to the over-the-top drama to the vignettes. Like, happy for Toni Storm because I think early on I did enjoy her. I thought the addition to her to the AEW roster was great. But when this character changed where she broke away from the Outcast, it happened so quick and it got so elevated so quick in a good way. Props to her. And that's all to her execution and fantastic. Well deserved for this one.
Huge. Another shout out. Number 8 was Willow, and number 9, Mariah May. Little bit of people are frustrated right now, saying, Mariah May herself frustrated with not a whole lot of challengers now. Of course, Anna Jay shows up and gets in her face. I like the tweet, like, "Oh no, Stardom legend Anna Jay." That was from Mariah May, was giving her crap because Anna Jay went to Japan for a few months, and that's where Mariah May came from with Stardom. However, I know that Anna Jay is fighting for the title and Battle of the Belts filmed tonight. She's challenging Mariah May. I am not spoiled. I want you to know I am not spoiled on anything, and this is not a spoil. This is a prediction, not a spoiler. I am not spoiled. However, I do know that a certain La Merda made it publicly known that she is in Stockton tonight, and that somebody was running her mouth about where's Thunder Rosa running around England singing.
That's right.
So could we now see a Thunder Rosa Mariah May feud to take us to Full Gear? I would love to see that, and I think that would be awesome.
I would love to see that as well. However, I want to see selfishly, I'm sure we can all agree with this, that the next feud that Thunder gets in, if it involves a title, wanting her to win. Yeah. I think Mariah May's title run currently is still very fresh, and I don't think we're going to see it being lost anytime. I feel like we still got the Marina Shafir stuff. She's Anna Jay versus Mariah May, the battle of the A's. However, I think you can start planting the seeds, and whether it be Thunder or Jamie Hayter dethroning her down the line, as I spoke about the past couple weeks. But, I wanted Thunder to go against – great, yeah, Thunder already has beat Mariah. But I want to see Thunder go against Mercedes. I really do. I want to see that match, and I want to see them fight for the title.
I agree. And here's the thing they need to do is I think they need to designate the title matches, whether they're TBS or New Japan title. And I think Mercedes needs to drop one of them, because that's going to give an opportunity to another wrestler. I mean, granted, it kind of fits the CEO. She's a belt collector, what have you, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? Right. Maybe you might even try to book Mercedes versus Mariah. But I'd like to see, imagine Thunder Rosa with the New Japan title, with the women's New Japan Strong title. I mean, that actually could open up a whole new set of opponents for her. True. That would be very interesting to see. Or would we see, could Mina Shirakawa defeat Mercedes Moné for it? Now she's got the New Japan. There's so many things you can do, but I think having belt collectors are great to a point, but eventually you got to start clearing some space for some other folks. And like you said, I agree with you. I as much as I want Thunder to get gold back, get the championship back, it's too soon for Mariah May at this point, and I agree. So if she does get into it for full gear, I would love for her to win, but I'd be afraid that she won't win because it's too soon for Mariah May to drop.
Yeah, and then it's back to kind of square one, and I don't really want that selfishly, as I'm sure can all agree with that. I know we're got a lot to cover, but we're also still want to talk about a couple things. Well, I guess this might be the last thing of the night in terms of time. And I think it's very important that we talk about it because Shelton Benjamin, age aside, man, and Lio Rush going toe to toe, I felt like this match was more than just an exhibition match for Shelton Benjamin back in the ring or in the ring for the first time in AEW. I think, the guy he was tossing him around like he was, hey, Finnegan.
Like
tossing
he was
him around
Darby.
like he was a little, like Darby Allin, which I know he's much smaller in scale. But I was very impressed with Shelton, what he had to do, man. I was quickly reintroduced to what he can do in the ring. And it's got me more excited with this so unofficially Hurt Business stuff that we're going to see. How do you think this match went? And do you think it went a little too long?
I don't think it went too long. I think it went exactly. I think it was great. I mean, because Lio Rush is Lio Rush. And I like that even though it was pretty much a beatdown, but it wasn't in that Lio Rush had a chance to shine and had a chance to show off what he can, he's like, I swear Lio Rush lives in a different frame rate than the rest of us. Like he's like an outside the matrix sometimes with this. So some of the stuff he does, it's smooth. It's not even choppy.
Right.
Which point. I love what everybody said. This reminded me of why Shelton Benjamin is so good and why and I'm glad that he's getting much more of the accolades. And I understand that the original plan was for Bobby Lashley to show up at WrestleDream, but I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad that he was there. He was backstage, but I'm glad that didn't happen. I'm glad they're stretching this out because they're letting Shelton Benjamin get some spotlight first. And that's okay. And they're establishing MVP and Shelton Benjamin as an entity first. We may even, who knows what Lio Rush might decide to do at some point. He announced he's now all elite officially. We also saw the Acclaimed. We also saw the Acclaimed where Anthony Bowens was denying flat out no to MVP, but Max Caster, who keeps describing himself as the best wrestler alive, kept the card. So are we going to see an Acclaimed breakup at some point? If they do, strap the rocket to Anthony Bowens, send him to the moon. and give him all the belts. I mean, that dude is going to be a tremendous singles wrestler, but I'm not ready for the Acclaim to break up just yet. I thought this match was great. I thought it was well timed, and we got to see, we got to have the chat afterwards, and Shelton Benjamin MVP got to have some mic time, and it's good long-term storytelling as eventually we're going to see, of course, Bobby Lashley. We're going to get Bobby Lashley versus Swerve, and that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this match. I am excited because once again, I mean, there's the heels, man. The heel groups are just elevating to the next level right now in AEW. I think it's like now is the best time in AEW to be part of Team Heel, and I'm excited. This edition fits so well on the AEW landscape right now, and I think Swerve's feud with them is going to work so well.
Yeah.
And it's great to have Swerve back so soon after that brutal cage match with the Hanger himself. So I don't know where this is going to go too. It's like, that's why I love chatting about this, because the more we talk about this and more we hear input from all you guys in the chat, it's like, I could think something, I can watch this and think this and then sleep on it and then get ready to talk to you about it. And then it's like, wait, you're throwing these ideas in my mind, and then I'm hearing them from the chat. I'm like, okay, I didn't even think of that level of it. But I feel like the way big picture these guys are, they're definitely going to stay away from the mock stuff, the elite stuff, and really have their core feud with whomever at that level. And there's so many people I would love to see Shelton Benjamin go with. I mean, I would love to see him go with a Will Ospreay. I would love to see him go with
Takeshita.
Takeshita would be great. Fantastic one there. I would love to see him feud with an FTR if Lashley's there. And so I'm excited for what's next in terms of that. And, I feel like Swerve's going to have to recruit a new Swerve family, whatever it may be. I don't know what that's going to be or what that would look like. However, do you see anyone joining forces with Swerve? I love this lone wolf, Prince Nana's my family only side of him, but in typical heel fashion, the numbers game can definitely catch up to you.
Yeah. Obviously, he laid it down. He made the mention about family. He's got family. That's what he wants. Like that. Prince Nana is his family. He doesn't turn his back on family. By the way, really quickly, Steven in the Chambers in the chat was talking about what it looked like. I actually thought it looked like Shelton Benjamin was wrestling with his son, and like his little son, not quite a little older and toddler son, and was throwing him around like, okay, you got me. Oh no, but that was good. I mean, it really did kind of the size difference, but yeah, because Swerve's gonna have to do something. I mean, you could argue Powerhouse Hobbs could jump in the mix, or you could I don't think going back to the Cage of Agony or anything like that. I mean, obviously Brian Cage on his thing. I think the Gates of Agony to do their thing, but I could see maybe reaching out to Top Flight, maybe the Infantry. Maybe there's others he could reach out to that might be good, a good backup, at least maybe temporary, if not permanent. But what I love about this is that he's going to Swerve with Shane Taylor Promotions. See, that's interesting because I have a feeling they might. I'm surprised that, or I'm not surprised, but I'm wondering if at some point, they might make a play for Lee Moriarty, or Lee, like Lee Johnson could pop in there. It's going to be interesting, but there's a number of ways that they could go. I don't know about conglomeration, but like who could be, I could see him reaching out to some tag team folks to give him some backup, and there's some opportunities out there. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And wasn't he training with the Judge? I think he was.
I like what you said about the Infantry, because that's just giving a fresh team a fresh look.
Yep.
Shane Taylor's Promotions, whatever they got going, we're big fans of Anthony Gogo, so I think like a hired gun like him would be kind of cool too. If Shane Taylor Promotions are still a thing, even though I kind of liked what they were going with that. But also, it's like, I don't know. I mean, that's one of those things. It's fun not knowing. And I'm excited to see how this match pans out in 2 weeks on the Halloween show versus Swerve and Shelton Benjamin, which Shelton could be one of the top free agents of our draft for our +3. And if you just joined us, you didn't see us in the beginning, these are the most recent standings. And then once we finish Full Gear, the week after Full Gear, we're going to be doing our +3 draft to end out the final season. So we're going to do in reverse order. So whomever it may be, it could be me. I was sitting at the bottom of the order. I was sitting in last place last week, and now look where I'm at up at number 2. Mind, you could be down in last place too. You can sandbag it to Full Gear. You could be the sandbagger, and then you could pick up the Hurt Business all right then and there, being the last place pick there. So the +3 to end off the draft after Full Gear definitely could be very helpful for the final push to the end of World's End.
I'm loving this because, and again, it looks like 17, Mind Runner, he's in the lead. I guarantee in 2 weeks it's going to look completely different. Steven, you said you're at the bottom.
I almost had a +4 last night.
Yep, exactly. It's insane. Anything can happen. Like look at Steven's roster. Jamie Hayter. I mean, where obviously they need to bring her back on TV. What's going on? You got Rickhouse. You got Okada. You got Jack Perry. You got Daniel Garcia's back. He's going to
start getting a point a week easily.
Absolutely. Now with Murderhawk joining up with Brian Cage, that's sick. We also, we didn't even talk about the main event with Kip Sabian getting involved with Christian Cage. I thought that was the right call because now Jay White is going to kill Hangman. It's anybody's ball game at this point. Anything can happen. There's so many things. I think the only thing that's saving me right now is Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly, because without them, I'd be down at the bottom too.
Team Babyface, I'm jealous that I don't have them on my team, but honestly, I'm starting to get fatigued out of them. I'm starting to get conglomerate fatigue right now on AEW.
Well, that's the problem. The word of the day is not fatigue. The word of the day is patience, SPD, because it's anybody's ball game, and that's the truth, and that's what we gotta do. And so when you go away tonight and you rest your head on your pillow, you must thank the lucky stars that you're breathing, because the conglomeration ain't gonna stop for nobody.
So I'm not over Briscoe. I'm just over the safe booking of the conglomeration nonstop every single week of everyone else. OC, O'Reilly, now Rocky Romero. Like, I don't see them growing. It's just like a flat line. Like, okay, you're wrestling, you're going to get a win. You're wrestling, you're getting a win. Like, I don't see any growth there. I don't see any goals or growth right now. Now, they could eventually challenge. Now that we've seen all this stuff, we can challenge for the trios titles, which I think would be compelling if Jericho wins that world title, as I mentioned a couple weeks ago. But a lot of stuff that we'll talk about. But I know we're running over time. Thank you all for joining us for episode 151 Proof, and we appreciate it. Enjoy a big weekend of wrestling, Rampage, Collision, and Battle of the Belts, and we'll see you next week, baby. You know it's all up. We need to put that.